Welcome to the Ambitious as Fuck podcast, where we have raw conversation about staying motivated and ambitious while facing real life challenges. Success doesn't just happen, you have to work hard, fall, and keep getting up regardless of the obstacles. If settling or giving up is not your style, stick around for this real ass conversation. My name is Priscilla, and I've always enjoyed helping and motivating others. While developing my own brand, I realized my passion for marketing and empowering others to keep pushing forward and manifesting their dreams. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Ambitious AF podcast, Season 4, Episode 1. This is Priscilla, and I am so excited to hop back on here after about 6 months plus, or a little bit more. The last episode was in November of 2021, and it's been an amazing time because there's been a lot of clarity and changes and growth and just a lot of positive things that I've experienced. And the funny thing is that I've been on this path for a while, but I just really got a lot more clarity now. So let me start off with thanking you for being here and supporting me thus far, or even being here for the first time and checking this out. So the purpose of this show is really to encourage and empower you to chase after anything you want. And that has always been part of who I am. That has always been part of what I encourage people to do. And, I've always had this strong will to overcome obstacles and to make it through things and make things happen when I set my mind to them. And I just feel like everyone should be there. Like everyone can do whatever the hell they want. So that's the purpose of this show. In this season, I'm going to share a little bit more about myself personally and, some of the recent things taking place in my life that has brought me to this clarity. And that is actually actively beginning a healing journey. Back in episode 8 of season 1, I actually talked about some of the trauma I've experienced with my dad as a little girl. I got a little descriptive, so if you want to go back and listen to that episode, then you might understand a little bit of my background. And, the fact that I am not the only survivor of abuse and, sexual molestation. And as I got older, abuse from someone who was doing drugs and alcohol. So yeah, definitely that episode, I kind of broke that down for you a little bit. So go to season 1, episode 8 for that. So the crazy part for me right now is just all of the things that I've been doing that have gotten to this point. But something that I was always afraid to touch was uncovering the shit from my past and really, really digging deep into my subconscious to figure out how to actually, or what tools I needed to not let those things from the past kind of live in my brain without me knowing and causing me to have certain behaviors that I don't necessarily like about myself, or maybe even other people don't like. But ultimately, I've done tons of reading. I've been doing tons and tons of reading. It kind of all started with Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I don't know if I've mentioned this book before, but this book is really kind of the beginning of talking about manifesting and the law of attraction. So anyone who is listening, if you're into that stuff, then that's kind of where I'm going with moving forward. And it's all, it's all stuff that I wouldn't have really paid attention to, even 7 years ago, maybe, or no, actually not 7 years ago. I probably wouldn't have paid attention to this, definitely wouldn't have paid attention to these things back when I was part of a church, which I'm not going to mention which kind right now, because that's not the point. But the point in me saying that is that, I've opened up little by little over time to start learning things that perhaps sound a little strange at first, or perhaps sound like they're not true, or perhaps sound like they're made up, or that someone's crazy. So, having an open mind has really, really changed things for the better. So If you're not into that and you don't want to hear it, then this is definitely not the show for you. So let's get into kind of what's been going on since the last episode in November. So since then, Aaron has had a weird schedule. Aaron is my son. Right now, I am speaking to you. It is June 5th. And my son, Aaron, is almost a year and a half. And he was born premature 2 months early on Christmas Day in 2020. So I had a rough first year with him. After he turned a year, things started getting a little better, and which was actually in December. And, then now it's like he sleeps better, no more belly issues. He's like using the bathroom like a normal human. Poor guy used to not have that ease, but he's doing great. And so now I have more time to get work done, and I've had a lot of clients. I've met so many fun people. Some of you are probably listening right now. So many awesome people who are also on healing journeys as I am, or who are, learning more about themselves and gaining more clarity. That is my ultimate purpose these days, and I never ever would have even thought this was a thing. So I want to tell you about the story of how I realized that I needed to get a coach. And it all goes back to, at some point, some of my clients are coaches, and I've always appreciated the fact that there's people to help you kind of speed through whatever you're trying to achieve. And so there's all kinds of coaches, right? You got financial coaches, you got life coaches, you got gym coaches, right? Trainers, personal trainers, which is also a coach. You got business coaches, you got spiritual coaches, you got all kinds of coaches, and everyone has a great offer. They're here to help you speed through whatever that goal is. So get there faster. And one of the things that I've always done is I've always been a reader, a learner, an absorber. And so I don't know if I've mentioned before, but like at the beginning of my business, which was a completely different thing than it is now, I was trying to figure out my own marketing. And so I was like, I couldn't afford to pay for it. And even though I would have loved to, but part of the issue too was like, even if I would have paid for marketing, I didn't understand it enough to know what I'm paying for. So I didn't want to do that. So I was like, well, I need to learn about this before I do anything. So I learned all kinds of stuff about marketing, and little by little, I'll talk about that later, but not in this episode. But my point is that I was spending all this time learning, and it was years, literally years of reading and learning and trying, trial and error, and failing and switching things up and switching again and then switching again until I found more and more clarity, more understanding, and really figuring out what I want to do and what want to offer people in the first place. I always knew, I was like, at one point when I feel that I need a coach, I will be willing to pay for it. But I don't know what coach. What kind of coach do I need? I have no idea. And finally, earlier this year, I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I am ready to be coached. I want to hit more goals faster. I want to reach more success, and I was like, I want to coach. I just didn't know what, but I figured once I see this person, I will know that's who I need to work with. So I want to say that's in January. So by the time March came around, in March, I ended up meeting someone who I wouldn't have expected to meet. I didn't even have this intention of meeting with her, but it all starts at this networking event that I went to in Vegas. And there's a story behind what gets me to Vegas in the first place, which is pretty awesome too. But I'll just get into this part of the story really quick. So when I met this person at a networking event, I was just automatically drawn to her. For whatever reason, the moment I looked at her and saw her face and saw her cute little outfit and her cute smile, and she said hello to me, I was like, oh my God, I need to keep talking to you. So after that networking event, I met with her the very next day, and I found out that she's a transformational life coach. And, I didn't know what that meant exactly, but you can just imagine, like, that means a whole buttload of stuff changes for you, I guess. And we were talking and I'm telling her about my son who's 17, and there's been some depression and mental health, which we shouldn't be ashamed of talking about. And I'm not. I will elaborate more on these topics in other episodes. But I'm telling her about my son. And so she says to me, okay, and how about yourself? Well, how are you doing? And I told her, I'm reading all these books. I'm learning to meditate. I've been, working on manifesting. And oh my goodness, I've seen such progress and this and this and that. Even though I had hit a wall, I had actually just hit a wall and felt like, I wasn't really clear on really how I was trying to serve my clients and in what way with my knowledge and my experience. And so I just felt really stuck. So I didn't tell her that exactly, but I did tell her, I've been working on all these things and I do see a lot of changes, which was true, And so then she asked me this question that's when I realized, I was like, okay, hold on. She asked me this. She's like, oh, that sounds really good. That's great. You've been making progress. She's like, have you had the opportunity to brain dump? And even though I wasn't 100% sure if I knew what she meant by that, the way I took it was, to uncover all the stuff that's in my brain that, again, I think my subconscious. So the stuff that lives in my head. And I told her, my response was, I wouldn't even know where to begin. So at this point, it really stuck with me. And I'm like, wow, that's what I need. All this time, I'm like trying to figure out what I need. And that's what it was. And the reason that I hadn't done that part of it was because I was scared. I was scared to bring stuff out that I've buried so deep within my my brain that I know it's there somewhere. And, I need to somehow confront it. So then, that was the beginning of me realizing that perhaps she can help me, or at least now I know what to look for in someone that could help me. In the long run, I ended up knowing a coach all along, Jay Sachs, who was actually on an episode prior to this. And because his messaging wasn't necessarily directed at me or I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I'll get into that. So I ended up talking to my friend Jay, and we were just kind of chatting, and we had recently gone on a live just to have a conversation. I didn't even know where the conversation was going, and I just know we went live on Instagram. And it was during that moment when I realized that I needed help, and I was very emotional at the time, extremely emotional. Not only did happy things make me cry, but then sometimes I felt a little sad, and I was like, why am I crying like this? And so he goes, would you like to work together? He was like, you can help me with my branding and my messaging, and I can help you on your healing journey. And I was like, holy crap, this whole time you could help me and I didn't realize that. So that's the power of a message. But anyway, ever since then, I'm learning a lot of things about myself, things that I didn't realize. And it's just for example, let me give you an example because I'm trying to figure out how to put this into words for you. So when I started reading some of these books about manifesting money and riches and, so many good books that I've read about this, there a lot of times they say, what are the blocks that you have in your mind that are causing you to not be able to get past your blocks? So what are the subconscious thoughts in my head that are causing blocks? And that's honestly where I felt I was back in February. But I couldn't figure out what the blocks were. That was the thing. I couldn't figure out what the subconscious thoughts were that were causing blocks. And that was where I felt stuck. That's exactly why I felt stuck, because I couldn't figure out what those thoughts were in my head. And so as I've been working with Jay, I've been able to confront those thoughts, and then those thoughts go deeper and deeper because Jay helps me ask questions within myself so that I can get deep, really, really deep. And so the deeper you go, the more you start remembering, but it hasn't been scary at all. It's actually been enlightening. It's been like, oh my God, no wonder, right? That kind of shit, like epiphany. And so I want to share this with you because I know that I'm not the only one that's been through trauma. I'm not the only one who's been through trauma or something that has affected the subconscious thoughts in our mind. And I'm not the only one that experiences like doing things that perhaps I'm not like too happy with, or saying things to people that I wish I didn't, or having thoughts that I wish I hadn't had. Or there's so many things that trauma can cause. So we all experience trauma in our own way, and we all process it in our own way. And sometimes, many of times, they are not always, they're gonna show up in a way that we're not happy about. So I share these things with you so that I can help you to think about something you hadn't thought about before. Maybe it could give you a different perspective of things that can open your mind to different possibilities for yourself, or a different way to look at it. There's all these things. So by me sharing what I'm going through, I hope that it helps you. So with that being said, I'm setting the tone for this show and really, really giving you a deep understanding of what my purpose is for this show and how I want it to help you. And if you enjoy this, if you think somebody needs it, please like, share, comment. I really appreciate it. The more people are aware of the show, then the more people hopefully will find help. And I'm going to have plenty of guests on the show that are part of these healing, part of helping people. And everyone that I work with has some type of a purpose that I want to share with others. So everyone's story can build toward the motivation and the tools perhaps that we need to reach our goals and to really go for anything it is that we want. So stay strong, keep pushing forward, and I will talk to you soon. For daily tips and motivation, follow me on Instagram at ambitiousafcopywriting.